Let's talk interior ceiling beams in your house. We do a lot of beams in a lot of the homes we build, and there are a few different types you can do. You have your solid wood beams. These would be something like a reclaimed beam that you would get from an old barn or house and mount in your house. You can also buy solid beams from lumber companies and things like this. A piece of cedar, an 8x8 piece of cedar, something like that would be a solid beam. Solid beams look great. They are, in fact, real solid pieces of wood, which is wonderful. That's some of the advantages. The disadvantages to the solid wood beams, they are heavy. They do require structural support to be put in. They often have to be put in during the framing stage, and they are more prone to warping and cracking. So that's the advantages and disadvantages to the solid wood beams. Then we can get into what we would call box beams. This is where we have the trim carpenters build a beam on the ceiling. It is essentially taking pieces of wood, joining them together so that they look like a single piece of beam. These look great. You have to remember most ceilings are above your head, either 8 to 10 to 12, and sometimes higher. When you have a vaulted ceiling, you may be having a beam going up to 20 feet. And it's hard to see the detail. It's not like you're standing right up next to it. So the fact that maybe the sides are mitered to the bottom, that's not really something you can see. A good painter makes sure to putty all that before they stain it or paint it. And so having site-built beams by the trim carpenters is a great way to go. It looks great, it is more cost-effective, and it's easier to do. Then you can get into what I call the faux wood beams. These can range. There are actually foam versions that can be bought. They look distressed. They have stain colors and things like this, but they are made out of a foam material. They are also kind of a box beam style. And when I say box beam, imagine kind of a U shape. It's not a solid piece. These are obviously made out of foam, so they're fairly light, easy to install. There is another version in a company that we use to do what we call hand-hewn custom beams that are either, they can be distressed, all kinds of finishes on them. They are actually wood, but they're kind of a hybrid between having a trim carpenter build it on site, because this company does the same thing at their shop and then adds all the distressing, the stain and whatnot. Those look great. You can walk right up to them and not know they aren't a solid old beam from an old barn or something like that. So those are your main choices on ceiling beams when you're building a new home.